Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Oxnard Planning Commission regular meeting for Thursday, December 2nd, 2021. A quick housekeeping item. In accordance with Assembly Bill 361, members of the commission, public, and staff will be participating via teleconference. As shown on the agenda and online, please email all written public comments to planning@oxnard.org. Those wishing to speak may visit oxnard.org/city-meetings to fill out the speaker form or by calling 805-385-7878 by 3 p.m. the day of the meeting. During the meeting, a 3-minute opportunity will be given for the public for additional members to participate and provide comments after each item. Members of the public are requested to view the phone number, meeting ID, and passcode at the bottom of your screen to log on to the meeting. And those numbers are those that are listening in. Dial-in phone number is 888-475-4499, with the meeting ID being 819-0196-7709, with the passcode being 165525. Because the meeting is electronic, all votes will be done by roll call. Lastly, for presenters, when needing to advance to the next slide, please clearly state next slide. And with that, we'll move to our Madam Secretary to establish our quorum.
Chair Chavez,
Here.
Vice Chair Ovejo,
Here.
Commissioner Connolly,
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez,
Here, thank you.
Commissioner Meyer.
Here.
Commissioner Nash,
Here.
Commissioner Sanchez.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you for that. And we'll go ahead and take our first item, which is our Pledge of Allegiance. And Commissioner Meyer, would you mind leading us this evening?
Not at all. If you'd all please stand. Right hand over your heart. And speak with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Meyer. So we'll go ahead and move to our next item, which is public comments for items not on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to address the Planning Commission regarding any item not on the agenda, but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission may do so at this time. However, the commission cannot take action on any items presented during public comments and will be referred to the commission secretary. All public comment speakers will have 3 minutes. Madam Secretary, just to confirm, we did not have anyone sign up before 3 p.m., correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Once again, in accordance with AB 361, we'll go ahead and have our time 3 minutes. Once again, members of the public, on the bottom of your screen is the information to be able to log on to our meeting and provide comments for items not on the agenda. So commissioners, in the meantime, and you know, it will be something nice for the public. I just want to read a quick email from the chair of the Community Relations Commission. It's a very quick one, and we'll send our congratulations to them. So it just reads, on Thursday, November 18th, during a small and private reception, myself and fellow commissioners had the honor and distinct privilege of presenting special awards to outstanding individuals, businesses, and nonprofit organizations in the city of Oxnard. The Community Relations Commission has annual awards in which we recognize the efforts, change, service, and impact certain individuals and organizations have had in our city, particularly helping the underserved and underprivileged families. This year, we received countless nominations, and although every nominee deserves to be recognized, there can only be a few select winners, and they are as follows. For Outstanding Senior Citizen, Cynthia Morales and Joan E. Hatcher. Outstanding Individual, this is between the ages of 18 to 54, Corey Branchflower. For Outstanding Businesses, Master Tony Nunez of Golden Tigers and the Port of Hueneme. outstanding nonprofits are Shelter Care Resources and the Martin Luther King Jr. Committee of Ventura County. So I just wanted to share that all those individuals, and organizations, they do a lot for our community, and I'm glad that the commission was able to recognize them this year. They weren't able to do it last year because of COVID, but I'm glad they were able to do it this year. So I send my congratulations to them, all the recipients and all those that were nominated. Continue to do the good work for our community. Thank you. And of course, commissioners, if anybody has anything to say for the last 30 seconds, please fill the time.
Chair Chavez and commissioners, it's been 3 minutes. I haven't received any new public comments.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. So we'll go ahead and continue. Our next item is our consent agenda. What I would actually like to do is take D1 by itself, and then D2 to D5 can be grouped together as well. So D1, subject, adopt a resolution reauthorizing remote teleconference meetings of the Planning Commission of the City of Oxnard. As indicated in the memo, and our city attorney, assistant city attorney, Mr. Roselle, this is a process that we have to undergo every 30 days to renew our teleconference. So I'll be searching for a motion and a second on D1.
So move.
Moved by Commissioner Sanchez,
Second.
by Commissioner Dr. Lopez. Madam Secretary, can we get a roll call on D1, please?
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ovejo,
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Aye.
Chair Chavez,
Aye.
motion passes.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead and group D2 to D5. If there's any of those minutes that you need to abstain from, please just say that when the roll call. Vice Chair Rejo.
Chair Chavez, I would like to consider the minutes of November 4 separately. I just have a correction to them. I don't mind if I can just make the correction and we can consider it with everything also to up to your leisure.
Okay,
Or
so
preference.
we'll go ahead and take D5 separately. So I'll look for a motion for D2, D3, and D4. We'll group those together. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I move to approve the minutes of October 7, October 13, and October 21.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, if we're gonna have a roll call on items D2 to D4, please.
Vice Chair Ovejo,
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez,
Aye.
Commissioner Nash,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Chair Chavez,
Aye.
motion passes.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead and look at D5, which is the minutes from the November 4th, 2021 meeting. Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you very much, Chair Chavez. I had a previous communication with Mr. Kowitz and staff in regards to possibly putting this up on the screen. If that's not possible, I will verbalize my correction at this moment. And thank you very much. I'd like to direct commissioners to the third motion in regards to the Starbucks project, where Commissioner Lopez moved and Commissioner Nash seconded. The minutes as distributed had the specific amendments of condition number 9 and condition number 107 in the third motion, and I am requesting that 107 be moved to the amendment that I moved and that Commissioner Nash seconded, and that in the third motion that in condition number 9, it's generalized and move to the amendment where it's specified by myself. I can repeat that because there's a little bit, there are a couple of actions there.
While the commission is looking at some of the text on the screen, the pages are actually, I think it's 4 pages long in all, just given how long the motion was. Staff did review the requested edit. We agree with it. We think the requested edit is consistent with what occurred at your meeting. And since the minutes are supposed to be an accurate reflection of what happened at the meeting, we support this requested edit.
Thank you, Mr. Kowitz, and thank you, Vice Chair. So Vice Chair, would that be your motion for those changes?
Yes, I will summarize it in an attempt to simplify it for the chair to repeat. I move to correct the minutes so that condition 109 is generalized and the specific amendments are moved to the amendment moved by myself and seconded by Nash of condition 9 and condition 107.
Okay. Is there a second? I'll go ahead and second that. Madam Secretary, if we can have a roll call on those minutes from the November 4th, 2021 meeting with the proposed changes by our Vice Chair.
Vice Chair Owejo,
Aye.
Chair Chavez,
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez,
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanchez.
If it's a November 4th, I believe I was not at that meeting.
Okay,
So an
so
abstention.
you abstain?
Abstain, yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you for that. And that concludes that part of our agenda. So we'll move to our next part, which is our ex parte declarations for public hearing items. Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you, Chair. While I sit on a committee under the Oxnard Union High School District, I have no knowledge of this project other than what was presented to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Connolly.
None. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Dr. Lopez.
Am I off mute here? Yes. So I will actually be recusing myself from item F1 because my wife sits on the board of the Oxnard Union High School District. And so this item is filed under the owner of the district that owns the property. And so as I've seen before, I will turn my camera off and rejoin after this item is heard and voted on. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Meyer.
None. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Nash.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I think I've mentioned this before, but I've had a chance to meet with Mr. Casillas on some of his other projects in the past as part of the Oxnard Community Planning Group, but not this project specifically. So that's the extent of my ex parte.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanchez.
None.
Thank you. And none from myself. So we'll go ahead and move to our first public hearing item, F1. Project name is an Encanto subdivision major modifications. Planning and zoning permit number 21-550-03, major modifications to modify planning and zoning permit number 20-500-05, special use permit for a development plan, and planning and zoning permit number 20-300-04, tentative subdivision map 4, track 6054, and planning and zoning permit 20-535-03, density bonus. The request is to adjust the site plan and tentative track map plotting of 5 lots, lot 23 to 27, to exclude a 126 square foot area designated to be transferred to an adjacent property at 1101 West First Street, located north of lot 27, a tentative track number 6054. The 5 lots have been reconfigured to accommodate the 126 square foot area. Major modifications, the major modification, the Planning Commission recent August 26, 2021 approval of the planning and zoning permit number 20-500-05, planning and zoning permit 20-300-04, and planning and zoning permit 20-535-03 would allow for a 27-unit residential project with the configuration site and plotting changes to lots 23 through 27. The modified project entitlements include a request to 1, demolish existing infrastructure consisting of the modular classroom buildings and site improvements serving the former Oxnard Union High School Adult Education Program. 2, subdivide the project 4.10 acre site into 27 lots ranging between 3,891 and 10,584 net square feet in size, and dedication of approximately 1 acre of land for the benefit of the public right of way for existing and proposed roadway improvements along all 4 sides of the proposed development. The net developable area will be 3.13 acres. And 3, allow for the construction of 27 detached single-family dwelling units. The single-story 3-bedroom homes will offer a 2-plan mix with 2 unit sizes and attach or detach 484 square foot 2-car garages with alley access and associated improvements. And 4, the project also includes a request for the ministerial approval of a density bonus permit to allow for a 23-acre density bonus to increase the maximum number of units from 22 units to 27 units. Of the 27 units, 20 of the homes will be market rate. 7 of the homes will be affordable units as follows. 3 units will be set aside for low-income households, and 4 units will be set aside for moderate-income households. Approval of the following density bonus concessions incentives are requested pursuant to the Government Code Section 65-915, Subsection D. 1, reduce the minimum lot area from 6,000 square feet to lots averaging 5,332.6 square feet. 2, reduce the minimum lot dimensions, frontage, and width from 50 feet to 32 feet or greater with 2 flag lots having frontages of 14 and 20 feet and depth from 100 feet to 71 feet. And 3, reduce the rear yard setback from 25 feet to 5 feet, primarily to allow garages in the rear yard. The project site is located at 1101 and 1111 West 2nd Street and 1101 West 1st Street within the residential lowland use destination single-family residential zone and is in the Fremont South neighborhood. This is filed by Henry Casillas on behalf of the Oxnard Union High School District property owner. Our city staff person is Juan Martinez, the associate planner. The recommendation from the Planning Commission is find the project to be exempt from CEQA guidelines section 15332. Adopt a resolution 2021-XX repealing resolution number 2021-22 and approving planning and zoning permit number 21-550-03, 20-500-05, 20-535-03, subject to certain findings and conditions. Adopt a resolution 2021-XX repealing resolution number 2021-23, recommending the city council approve planning and zoning permit number 20-300-04, subject to certain findings and conditions. As a reminder to my colleagues and the public, the staff presentation is pre-recorded in accordance with Measure M and available on the city's website. And that concludes the reading. I feel like there was more reading in this one than the initial one that came before us. But we'll go to our staff if they have any final comments that they want to make before we move to the applicant team for a presentation. Staff.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. That was very clear and concise, and that's essentially the project description. We have no information or updates on the staff report that was posted posted and shared with the community and with you. So the draft resolutions, no changes there, no changes or updates to the presentation. So at this point, we're ready for any questions that you may have regarding the information that we shared in the draft resolutions, conditions. And the developer did put together a presentation to clarify any questions that you may have. So when you're ready, again, they'll have a separate presentation to answer and clarify any questions that you may have.
And Chair Chavez, I do have one other item to add. We did receive a communications on this item, a single one-page handwritten letter that essentially, in essence, it seemed to imply that there were an additional 5 lots that we were creating as part of this project. Just for a matter of clarity, this project originally came in as a 27 lot subdivision. We are still at a 27 lot subdivision. The action before the commission tonight is just to modify the lot lines of 5 of those lots in effect. So we just wanted to clarify that transmittal memo was distributed to all planning commissioners, as well as being posted online for the benefit of full public transparency. And with that, that concludes staff's comments at this point in time, and we turn it over to the applicant team if the planning commission doesn't have any questions for us.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez, and thank you, Mr. Kolwitz, for that information. Commissioners, if there's no objection, we'll go to the applicant team for their presentation, and then we'll just combine our questioning of staff and the applicant team. Mr. Casillas, welcome back before the commission. And once your presentation is ready, you may go right ahead.
Am I okay? Can you guys see me and hear me?
Yes.
Hello? I'm sorry, I'm at UCSB with a recital for my daughter, so I apologize if I'm a little bit shaky here. I want to introduce Mark DiCecco. He's a wonderful architect that's been working along with us since the last project. I want to draw your attention to the image that's in front of you on the screen. There is a little yellow section up on the northern corner there. Do you see that, commissioners? Lot 27?
Yes.
That is an easement that we are going to go ahead and provide to that property owner. We were approached by Barbara Macri Ortiz, and she identified that area as being an easement area that had been basically an exclusive use easement with that property owner. And rather to get involved in a back and forth, we said, look, we want to be good neighbors. We live here. We understand that he's been using that area exclusively for access and egress to his property. So we agreed to go ahead and modify at our expense and our time the site map for that particular lot. Now, in modifying that lot, it impacted the following lots there that you see. So that's kind of the background. With that, I'll kind of give this over to my architect, and he could give you some specific details about the lot sizes.
Thank you very much, Henry. And pretty much you stole my thunder because there's not really a whole lot to say about this. Thank you very much, Chair and Commissioners, for allowing us to present this to you. As you can see on the screen, again, from Henry's perspective, that little yellow triangle in the upper portion of the site is the item in question. This particular agreement between the school district and the homeowner was not even uncovered until after the approval that you gave the project previously. So all of this is just rectifying this with the adjacent neighbor. it was identified to us, like I said, after the project was approved already. And so all we're doing at this point in time is trying to accommodate that adjacent neighbor's desire, as well as adjust the lots accordingly, just to pick that up. The reason for the adjustments to more than one lot is we're trying to make the lots as consistent with the street frontage, as well as consistent with, as close as possible with the square footage that the lots originally had during the original approval. So that's why there are adjustments there to the lots, as opposed to just taking that 127 square feet out of lot 27. As Henry mentioned previously, as did Scott Kolwitz and staff, we are not adding lots. We're not taking away lots. We started with 27. 27 were approved originally. We're remaining at the 27. The individual homes that were on the lots previously are the same. The houses, we're not changing the housing unit mix. We're not changing the number of bedrooms. We're not changing anything other than the lot lines themselves. So can we go to the next slide, please? So just real quick, what you saw in the previous slide is up in the upper right-hand corner of the lot. What you can see on the left-hand side of your screen is the driveway of the adjacent neighbor. And you can see how they use that particular portion, where that's where they keep their trash cans. That's where they keep, that's where they park an additional car. So as Henry mentioned, in trying to be good neighbors, we're just making an adjustment to our project to accommodate that particular triangular piece of land. So if you see in the lower left-hand side of the screen, you can see what was approved previously by the commission. And on the right-hand side, what you can see is just the adjustment to the lots. So again, you notice that the houses themselves, the number of lots, the number of houses, the types of houses, how they're oriented, in essence, remains the same, and it's just the lot lines get adjusted around it. And with that, I'll keep the presentation short and sweet. If you have any questions, please let us know. And thank you very much again for giving us this opportunity.
I also wanted to add, commissioners, if you're wondering why we have the pink font and the black font, the pink font, if I'm correct, Mark, is where we were before, and the black font is where we're at now. One final comment is, if memory serves, I believe the gentleman who is inheriting that 126 square feet is a retired fireman. So we're very happy to be able to help him out in the situation.
I see the other Henry Casillas, who I do not believe that's his name. Yes, sir. Because you're the representative from the Oxnard Union High School District, correct?
Yes, good evening.
Yes.
Joel Kirschenstein on behalf of the Oxnard Union High School District. Just wanted to tell the commission that the district supports, since they're the property owner at the present time, they certainly support the adjustments that are being represented this evening, and also followed up with the superintendent. As soon as this project gets approved by council, the district is going to do everything it can to notify its employees to see who can qualify for the affordability units as they are represented this evening. So thank you all for doing that, and certainly for staff for working on this in the last couple of weeks. And it's been a pleasure in this this partnership that we've had. It's been a three-way partnership, so we appreciate it.
Great, thank you. And I appreciate those comments about opening it up to the school employees. I know that was one of our comments last time. Staff, if you can bring up that that slide again with the four quadrants, I think it'll be easy when commissioners start asking questions. That way they'll have a reference point. Commissioners, is there any questions for either the staff or the applicant team? Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. And actually, that's quite prescient in regards to having this slide. I'm going to refer to it to my first of two questions. The second is in regards to a question I asked last time in regards to the fire hydrant, to give a little heads up. My first question is in regarding the boundaries between each lot from lots 23 through 27. The boundary in the front yard is not perpendicular to the cul-de-sac versus the original plot, which had lot lines extending perpendicular to the cul-de-sac. For the city, what boundary markers are usually used to delineate the plots? And I'm asking this question because I'm slightly concerned that the owners will inadvertently build and or make improvements on plots that are not owned by them. I'll state my second question regarding the fire hydrant exhibit. I'm still concerned that there isn't or shown sufficient fire hydrant coverage. There are existing and proposed fire hydrants with their coverage areas, but a proposed fire hydrant somewhere on West 2nd Street, probably near Lot 8, is not noted. Why is there not sufficient fire hydrant coverage noted or proposed? And wouldn't it be logical, given the conditions and even necessary, to deny the permit based on this? Thank you. And I can repeat question 1 or 2 if staff needs to.
Members of the commission, this is Scott Kolitz. I'll go ahead and I'll jump in to help respond to those questions. A standard practice with lots that are being proposed is to utilize brass pins essentially to demarc where various lots would be placed out on the site. As grading and construction happens, those get placed out on site. And as we go through that, the plan check process, those can be denoted on the plans. Furthermore, as the initial construction would be happening with fences and or walls being constructed between properties, they would be surveyed in at that point in time. So that would set the expectation really going into the future. As subdivisions and residences tend to have a long life, fences do get reconstructed over time, but in the same place that they previously had been set. So it's all about setting things correctly as we go down this path. So in summary and succinctly, standard practice of inserting those brass pins would be the thing that would lead where the lot lines would be. So that's the quick summary on that response. In terms of the plans that had been produced as of this point in time regarding the fire hydrants, the plans that are produced for a map level or subdivision level approval aren't the same thing as a construction plan. So what happens is after we get through this approval process, finer detailed plans designed to construction level would be routed through all of our different departments, including our building team as well as our fire team. The fire department, I'll focus on them since the questions would really come down to them. They have the ability to direct where fire hydrants and other things would need to go to be compliant with fire code as part of their plan check process. So being succinct with that answer is the fire department would not necessarily see these plans as the final set of plans, and they could direct for additional infrastructure to be put in to be consistent with the fire code.
And Vice Chair, if I may jump in response to the initial question also, we did work back and forth with planning staff, because there was a concern that if we had adjusted the lots, by adjusting the lots to remove this 127 square feet without adjusting where the lot lines were as they hit the right of way at the cul-de-sac, that the street frontage per each lot would diminish, would change and be reduced. And so the idea was, and part of the reason for some of these adjustments is to make sure that lots, for example, lot 24 had roughly 32 feet of street frontage to begin with. And we wanted to make sure that lot 24 had 32 feet of street frontage when we were done making the adjustments. And that combined with trying to keep the square footage of the lots consistent as much as possible from prior approval till now, that's why we end up with lots that aren't necessarily running completely perpendicular to, as you rightly picked up, from the center point of the cul-de-sac. But thank you very much for the question.
And Commissioner, if I could also step in here, I shared your concern regarding the first question. It was something that I spoke with my landscape architect at great length. The idea is that along with the pins that Mr. Kolowitz mentioned, we're also going to be installing a bender board type of material, very thick, that will actually go all the way up to the front of the property line. Also, in a pattern sort of situation, we'll be adding different landscaping. There'll be different type of plantings or different type of shrubs to actually delineate the property lines between them. So there'll be a vendor board which will form a very clear and precise delineation. But then there will be a pattern of different type of plantings where you'll be able to clearly see the demarcation based on that vendor board and on the different plantings. So we think with that in mind, that'll be able to resolve that issue.
And also, if staff, if you could go to the actual next slide, there actually is a landscape plan that we can show you this gives a better idea of what Henry was speaking to.
Thank you very much, Chair. And thank you all for who answered my questions. To briefly explain why I asked in regards to the first question, I have seen that I was asking on behalf more of the city to make sure that there are not going to be any legal cases that might arise from errant boundary lines. I have seen in the past as an employee that historical knowledge has been missed, and so there are hurt feelings 50 or 100 years later. And thank you, Mr. Kowitz, in regards to more detailing question number 2. Thank you, Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Nash.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Chavez. This is probably a question that for Mr. DeCecco. On the previous slide in the graphic in the upper right corner, we are presented with square feet gross, square feet net, and then square feet gross again. Could you give me a quick and dirty explanation of the difference?
You're talking about the difference between gross square footage and net square footage?
Right. Like
or the difference between.
Well, if you look at lots 23, 24, 25, we're presented with 3 different square footages. And I'm just wondering what the difference is.
Yeah, that's you're asking an architect a civil engineering question. So
oh, sorry, I don't know the difference. I'm sorry.
That's good. That's completely
Commissioner Nash. It's my understanding. So the way that the project was designed was that the lots are actually going into the alley. The lots end at 50% of the alley. So what you see there, for example, if you take lot 25, you have starting from the top 5,930 gross square feet, and then you have 5,082 square feet net. It's my understanding that the gross includes the alley space and that the net is exclusive of the alley space.
Yes.
Then the pink color, 6,320 square feet, that is where we were previously, and the black is where we are now.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
That's correct. That's correct.
And I apologize, Mark, for that. What do I know?
No worries, Commissioner Nash.
It's okay, guys. I just had a 2-hour a civil conference call, so I was close on this.
That's all, Chair Chavez. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thank you for your questions, Commissioner Nash. Any additional questions? Vice Chair Rejo?
I apologize, Chair. I lowered my hand. Thank you.
Okay. I had a couple of questions for staff, or maybe this might go to the applicant team as well. But with this request for a modification, now that they're going to be losing that small part, again, it's only like, I believe it's 1,000 square feet. Does this affect their density bonus incentives?
Chair Chavez, the short answer is no, this request does not impact it because the modification that we're processing is modifying the density bonus that had previously been granted. The item that's before you, it's just 126 square feet, not 1,000 square feet. So to clarify that really quick, as we did the shifting of all the lot lines, the area calculations and so on and so forth, we maintained the density bonus statistics that had been previously granted. The one change that I would say that we made is lot 27 previously was the smallest lot of all of the lots. We did not believe it was appropriate to make that lot smaller. So we worked with the applicant team to actually increase the size of the lot through these series of modifications, even after the 126 square feet had been readied to be provided to the property owner to the north. So all that said, the intent of the density bonus request is still being maintained as previously approved.
Okay, I appreciate that. Were any, as you mentioned, Mr. Colwitz, lot 27 was the smallest of them, and it clearly shows that it had an increase. But any of these lots, are any of them considered to be part of that low income 7? I believe it was part of that group of 7.
Chair Chavez, I don't believe that, I'm not sure. Henry may already have those lots in mind. Those get negotiated with housing. And what housing looks for is equality, so that we don't all of a sudden end up with the smallest lot ending up unaffordable. So that all gets negotiated. Henry may know which of those lots are the ones that are scheduled to be set aside. I know that he's currently working with affordable housing to negotiate those lots and prices and things like that such.
Commissioner, we're mandated by state law that all of the units be the same fit and finish, that you cannot tell the difference between an affordable unit and a market rate unit. With our previous project that we did, Heritage Homes on H and Palm, you really literally cannot see the difference between, I'm sorry, that's my son. You can't tell the difference between those properties. The same situation will be here because those lots 24, actually I think lot 23 to lot 27 will be our plan 1. 1 or 2 of those may be affordable. We don't know which ones yet, but the rest of them will be spread throughout the project.
Okay, so it has the potential that part of the group of 7 will be 1 or 2 will be in just this that we're viewing right now.
That is correct, because simply those are, I believe they're plan 1s, and they're clustered there because of the dimensions of a lot, and the rest of them will be plan 2. So definitely some of those will be either the low or the moderate.
Okay. Okay. And just a final question, and this is more out of curiosity. When the plans were being drawn and all of the discussions, there was no survey done with the neighbor in regards to this small little easement between the 2 properties?
Commissioner, it wasn't really an issue of, we did a survey, we completed a survey, and actually our survey is correct. The problem was that somehow, some way, this gentleman was or claimed that he was given access to that 126 square feet. Rather than get into a situation that would be, negative, we just said, look, let's give him the land. Let's not even make it an easement. Let's give it to him as part of the process of recording the map. So we did do a survey, and the survey was correct, but it just happens to be that nobody knew about this easement because it's not an easement that's recorded. So that came up, and we decided to, delay the process and go to more expense to get this done, just to make everybody happy, basically.
Okay, sounds good. I appreciate that explanation. Commissioners, any additional questions? Seeing and hearing none, Madam Secretary, I believe we had one person sign up to speak on this item, Ms. Macri Ortiz. So let's go ahead and open the public hearing for this item and bring Ms. Macri Ortiz in.
Hello?
Yes, Ms. Macri Ortiz, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify so that people can understand how things happen in life. My client, Mark Sanchez, Mark and Patty Sanchez, I'm speaking on their behalf tonight. They were one of the first purchasers of the home here on First Street. And at the time, there was no fence. The city had the school, the adult school was there. And what happened was that as the people would be exiting to the alley, when there was a line, they would cut through Mark's property. And then some of the neighbors would also cut through Mark's property to get to the alley. And of course, he had 3 young children at the time, and it turned into kind of a hazardous situation for him. So he went to speak to the city, to the school district. And so the school district, what they did, they were the ones that constructed the fence to keep from the traffic going in and out of his driveway. And the person who was in charge of that for the school district said, well, we should put the fence here. And, some of that other land is technically ours, but go ahead and use it, because we're not going to have any use for that 127, whatever it turned out to be, square feet. So then after that, because he had the permission of the school district, then he went and he expanded the driveway, as you can see from that photo. So it gave him an extra parking space. And it also gave him a place for his trash cans. So basically that was back in 1984. And nobody ever said anything since. And he carried on as would anyone in terms of just taking the representation of the school district and going with it. And there was never anything until I was looking at the plans, and it appeared, these final plans.
30 seconds left, Barbara.
That the yard for that one home was encroaching on his, where his driveway was. And that's when we brought it up. He did bring it up at a neighborhood meeting, but it wasn't understood. I don't think he expressed it exactly clearly enough for them to really understand what was going on, but that was in it. But I do want to thank Mr. Casillas and Mark DeCecco for cooperating with Mark and Patty. And also I want to thank the city staff so that we could get this done and carry on. I really do appreciate that this was resolved without us having to resort to any kind of legal action. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Macri Ortiz, for your comments. Staff, any additional comments before the commission moves into deliberation, or any, any additional comments?
Chair Chavez, no, we concur with both statements from Henry Casilla and Barbara Macri Ortiz.
Thank you. Commissioners, we'll move into deliberations, and if there's no deliberations, we'll look for a motion on this item.
Chair Chavez, before we move into deliberations, we do have the 3-minute additional comment period. So
Thank you. I forgot about that. Um, So again, members of the public, if you wish to participate in our meeting tonight, please look at the bottom of your screen for the the phone number to call in, the meeting ID, as well as the passcode. So you'll have that opportunity. Just as a heads up to the members of the public, the city of Oxnard will be hosting a special city council meeting on Monday, December 6th. This will be for the redistricting. Every 10 years, cities, counties, states, federal, everybody has to go through a redistricting process after the census numbers are finalized, and the city is going through their process. So it will teach you how to use the mapping tool, which I found very, very difficult to use. It was not very user-friendly, so maybe some improvements down the road. But that is on Monday, December 6th. And then also, you know, because I know these meetings are so much fun and you can't pull your eyes away from them, but the city of Oxnard right now is hosting their annual tree lighting ceremony in Plaza Park, as well as some little markets happening also. So you can take those opportunities right there. Commissioner Nash.
Chair Chavez, I just raised my hand to make a motion if there are no deliberations. So whenever you're ready to call on me.
Okay. So commissioners, if there's no deliberations, we'll go ahead and move with the motion. I'm not seeing any hands.
No, commissioners, we have no new speakers.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Commissioner Nash.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I move the recommended action, and I will let our chairman read the full recital.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you. I second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that the Planning Commission find the project to be exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to sections 15.332 infill development projects of the CEQA guidelines and adopt a resolution number 2021-XX repealing resolution number 2021-22 and approving planning and zoning permit number 21-550-03, major modifications to planning and zoning permit number 20-500-05 special use permits for a development plan and planning and zoning permit number 20-535-03 density bonus, subject to certain findings and conditions, and adopt a resolution 2021-XX repealing resolution number 2021-23, recommending that the city council approve planning and zoning permit number 20-300-04 tentative track map for track number 6054, subject to certain findings and conditions. Is there any discussions on that motion? Staff, I just had one question in regards to that. And recommendation C, it says repealing resolution number 2021-23. Is that 23 correct?
Chair Chavez, yes, that is correct. At the last meeting, as well as this meeting, there are two resolutions. One is related to the SUP. That's the one that the Planning Commission does have authority over. The second one is a recommendation to the City Council. So that's just a recommendation up rather than an approval.
Got it. Okay. If there's no further discussion or questions, Madam Secretary, if we can have the roll call, please.
Commissioner Nash,
Aye.
Vice Chair Weho,
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez.
He's recused himself.
Oh. Okay. Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes,
Chair Chavez,
Aye.
a motion passes.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So we'll go ahead.
Thank you
and-
very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Casillas.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go ahead and proceed to our next item, item F2, project name, Vineyard Starbucks Site Renovations. This is planning and zoning permit number 21-550-01, major modifications to U-916 special use permit. The project includes modifications to an existing 2,450 square foot drive-through fast food restaurant building and to allow for a Starbucks coffee shop on a 0.66 acre site. The proposed improvements will consist of a series of site changes to convert the existing Wendy's restaurant drive-through restaurant into a Starbucks drive-through coffee shop. The changes include a small 50 square foot addition to allow for the relocation of the drive-through pickup window. The resulting building will be 2,500 square feet. The exterior of the building will be renovated with new colors and materials, which will consist of a tan stucco and a bronze metal roof with a weathered copper siding. The site layout will be reconfigured to allow for a larger vehicle queue. The revised drive-through lane will increase the queuing capacity from 5 vehicles to 16 vehicles. The project includes a transportation demand management plan. Other changes include revised signage, upgraded landscaping, and new parking lot striping. A request for an administrative parking relief is also being requested to allow for 2 modifications. Number 1, allow for a decrease in the number of required parking spaces from 50 parking spaces to 35 parking spaces, including 15 spaces which are provided via the drive-through queue, and 2, allow for 11 of the required parking spaces to be compact parking spaces. The project site is located at 2551 North Vineyard Avenue within the General Commercial Plan Development Zone District and within the Commercial General Land Use Designation. This is filed by Beverly Metz of Starbucks. Our city staff person is Joe Pearson. The second, senior planner. Our recommendations to the Planning Commission is find the project to be category exempt from CEQA guidelines, section 15301, existing facilities, and adopt a resolution 2021-XX approving planning and zoning permit number 21-550-01, major modifications to U-916 special use permit, subject to certain findings and conditions. As a reminder to the public and my colleagues, a pre-recorded presentation is available on the city's YouTube and website per Measure M. We'll go to staff at this time.
Hello, Chair Chavez. So there's nothing that staff has to add to our previous presentations. The applicant team has prepared a presentation for the commission this evening. And also, I would just like to note that our city traffic engineer, Tim Bokum, is also on the call to respond to any questions. So again, staff is here if you have any questions. And the applicant team does have a presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. If there's no objection from the commission, we'll have the applicant team provide their presentation. Okay. So Ms. Fong, whenever the presentation is ready, you may proceed.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Chavez and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Christine Fong. I'm the design manager at MCG Architecture, and I'm representing the tenant applicant. On behalf of Starbucks and the property owner, Matt Friedrich, we'd like to thank the city for the opportunity to present a second time during this continuation. Staff has worked with us diligently and collaboratively on modifications and clarifications that we believe will culminate in a very successful project. Now, some of this information will be a little bit of a repeat for the benefit of Commissioner Sanchez, who is not present at the November 4th hearing. But I will try to be very brief and concise, and hopefully it will be a good refresher for those who were here before. I'll expand on the elements of the Transportation Demand Management Plan, and we also have Anthony Valdez, who is the Starbucks District Manager in Oxnard, and will speak more specifically about daily operations, which I know is of a concern to the Commission. Can I have the next slide, please? So as we know, the proposed project is located on the northeast corner of Vineyard and River Park and is an existing Wendy's drive-through that has not been upgraded for some years. This is the existing site plan, and as Chair Chavez indicated, there is an existing car stack of 5. The city municipal code minimum for drive-through stacking is 8, but staff requested that we provide at least 14 cars at this site. The existing site was already deficient in parking, and in order to accommodate 3 times the stacking capacity, a parking study, as required by city ordinance, was performed by a traffic engineer to ensure that combined between parking and drive-through, there would be enough capacity at the site to serve a new use. Next slide, please. So this is the proposed site plan superimposed over a Google aerial of the intersection. The proposed project adaptively reuses the existing building and primary single direction circulation path. As indicated previously, the proposed stacking will be 16 cars, which exceeds both the municipal code minimum and the city requested minimum of 14, and with 20 on-site parking spaces. I'd like to briefly summarize the findings indicated by the traffic engineer who wrote, the 85th percentile of parking demand was calculated to be 17 spaces utilized. The 85th percentile factor is commonly used by traffic engineers for determining appropriate left and right turn lane lengths at intersections. By comparison, the project proposes to provide 20 on-site parking spaces, exceeding the 85th percentile factor from the reviewed data. They noted that in conclusion, it is expected that the project will provide sufficient vehicle parking to accommodate the forecast peak demand. I believe a copy of that study was provided to the Commission as part of our application. I just wanted to pull out those sections in case you hadn't had a chance to review it fully. As we'll discuss later, there is additional directional signage as well as provisions of the traffic demand management plan that we've added and modified to ensure smooth operations. Next slide, please. This is a conceptual rendering of what the site and building might look like when redeveloped. As previously discussed, this is a little bit of an older rendering, so the landscaping doesn't quite reflect the updated screening and landscape buffer that the applicant agreed to provide along Vineyard Avenue, but the building rendering is pretty accurate for what we've designed. The proposed modifications to the site will include a modernization of the entire property by remodeling the entire exterior of the building, including new roof with new siding materials, metal canopies, paint, and signage. We will beautify the site with new enhanced landscape and irrigation throughout. We'll provide an upgraded pedestrian path of travel to the public sidewalk and bus stop. We will provide 6 bicycle parking spaces and relocate and improve the existing trash enclosure for easier access and waste management. Next slide, please. This is an interior rendering that we've added that we didn't show you last time of what the inside might look like. We'll have all new materials, finishes, colors, furniture, artwork. Some of the things you can't really see, but that will improve on the site include the stormwater drainage. We'll redirect the flow to 2 underground drop inlets, one at each drive approach, that is conveyed by underground pipes to an underground detention system with an open graded bottom to promote filtration and infiltration. If you're not aware, the current site has no stormwater drainage at this time. It just drains wherever and into the street. This system will promote water quality in and around the site, and it will lessen the effect on downstream properties that are currently having to deal with the runoff from the existing site. Next slide, please. So previously we talked about the net effect of having more Starbucks altogether. As some of the commissioners so graciously noted, Starbucks is in high demand and has been successful in the city of Oxnard. And this current map shows the current stores in dark green. And you can kind of see how much of a gap there is between the existing locations and how the proposed site fills in part of this gap. This location is critical to provide for the demand in the city of Oxnard, but also to provide relief at other locations. They work together to offset peak times. Next slide, please. Also, we had previously talked about two specific stores that I know members of the commission have experience with at Esplanade and Wagon Wheel and Gonzalez and Rose, both which are within just a couple of miles and a few minutes of this project site. We didn't have the data when we talked about this before, so it's a little conceptual. So we wanted to provide the actual numbers this time so that we can clarify our discussions. I'd like to note that both of these stores have drive-through queues that are 40% smaller, and in general are smaller with combined queue plus parking than the proposed site. So as you can see, there's 10 car queues at both of each of these stores. And additionally, the dedicated parking for Starbucks at each of the sites is also less than what is proposed on our project. Esplanade is about 45% smaller and Gonzalez and Rose is about 30% smaller in terms of, again, drive-through plus dedicated parking capacity. Next slide, please. We were also asked to provide some additional data on the expected demand. And this chart shows the anticipated demand measured hourly based on proprietary parking and queuing data that Starbucks has amassed. So as you can see, for about 95% of the day, the demand is anticipated to be lower than the capacity of the drive-through lane. There could be peak moments like around 8 a.m. where the drive-through demand exceeds the capacity by 1 or 2. The yellow line there is the drive-through capacity at 16. And then kind of the yellow shaded area is the additional capacity that we have available for the parking. And then the top yellow line is the total capacity of 36. So again, there could be peak moments where the drive-through demand exceeds the capacity. However, there is still available parking, mobile order and pay, curbside, and of course the implementation of the traffic demand management plan to mitigate those couple of additional cars. And again, the traffic engineers use an 85% rule, and the data you see here is more of a maximum than it is that 85%. As a daily average, which is the chart on the right, you'll note that the combined demand of the site is around 15 parked and drive-through customers at any given time. So about 8 to 9 cars in the drive-through lane and 5, 6, 7 cars parked at a time. Next slide, please. There was also a lot of discussion about our transportation demand management plan. And unfortunately, last time we were not prepared with a slide. So we added this graphic. It is an excerpt from our TDMP so that we can better discuss and talk about how this plan would be implemented. So I just want to start by first saying that the U.S. Department of Transportation defines transportation demand management as providing a set of strategies aimed at maximizing traveler choices. So our traffic demand management plan covers performance-based methods that Starbucks uses nationwide to meet this goal. And the first thing, which we kind of talked about as well, is of course site selection. This particular site was selected for a lot of convenient options for access, including the existing bus stop and rideshare, which is indicated by bubble number 1. It is also walking distance from single and multifamily developments and shopping centers nearby. What goes along with selecting an excellent site, of course, is also effective site planning. This project has been almost 2 years in development now. And we did previously show a few of the iterations that we went through, but we did countless iterations for how the site would be most effective and efficient laid out. We reviewed extensive data of the most efficient placement of the menu board and order points, and every effort is made to reduce waiting time, which is frankly bad for business. If you look at bubbles number 2, number 3, These indicate the locations of designated parking spaces for the mobile order and pay program, curbside pickup, and is also shared with delivery partnerships. One of the things that some of the data that we were able to pull that I thought would be interesting to the commission is that about 24% of all transactions are now through mobile order and pay, and that trend is increasing. So a quarter of all of the business is going through that, and it's quick. These three programs, mobile order and pay, curbside and delivery partnerships, relieves both the parking and the drive-through lane because of their quick service and their designated stalls. People aren't lingering or waiting in line. So let's see, let's go to bubble number 5, indicates the location of the point of sale roughly inside of the store. And we want to note that there is a direct line of sight from that point of sale where the partners are taking payments and also preparing the beverages directly to the drive-through lane, so that they are able to monitor the status of traffic moving through and the demand. And it's actually part of something that the partners do need to monitor, because they need to understand the demand that's coming into the store at any given time. Item number 6 indicates the exterior camera for the back of house team member, the customer support position, and or the manager to monitor the drive-through lane as well, to be able to anticipate increased demand at the store. So at any given time, there are 2 sets of eyes on the drive-through lane to give feedback to partners on anticipated demand. Items number 7, 8, and 10, which I think are generally all 7 and 8 are on your bottom left corner, and 10 is up on the right corner. These are directional markings and pole mounted signage. As previously requested, we will be adding signage to the existing compact stalls and also adding additional signage at the aisle crossing, which is item number 10 that is new and has been added. Item number 4 and item number 9, which are grouped together, indicate the handheld order points and partner guided traffic flow. So Anthony Valdez, our Starbucks district manager, will speak more about how this program works in relation to the demand on the drive-through lane. And on the next slide, we've outlined some example decision-making metrics that the store operations team may employ, and this is also included in our traffic demand management plan. So if I could have the next slide, and then also Anthony, if you could kind of take the commission through each of these steps.
Yes, thank you, and hello to everyone. So the way that we set it up, one of Starbucks' new systems is a handheld order point, and it actually enables us to go outside and send someone outside. We actually take a position off of the floor and we'll send them outside. And the way that works is by the number of cars in queue. With 0 to 7 cars, we'll take no action because we'll be ordering at the actual speaker point. Between 8 and 11 cars, we actually start to monitor and actually prepare to send handheld outside. Between 12 and 15 cars, this is actually an indicator to send handheld order point outside. This means a Starbucks partner that's actually ordering will take a mobile device and they'll go outside and they'll go between cars 12 and 15, trying to work all the way out to car 15 to actually take orders at this point, increase production time, which actually speeds up the drive-through window and order. As with production time, there's nothing that we can't prepare, which also gives us someone outside to potentially direct traffic. Now, deploying this order point is actually something that we do at stores during our peak times between 7 and 9. And the Rose and Gonzalez and Esplanade store recently received these devices as well. And it has proven to increase drive-through time and limit some of these queues that we're seeing in our drive-throughs at this point. The other thing that we also have is a customer support position. Starbucks utilizes plays with the number of partners that are working. For example, in an 8-partner play, partners will be on the floor in key positions, but the final partner will actually be in a customer service position, which is somebody who will clean lobby, wipe patio, check restrooms, but also can be flexed to any position necessary to relieve bottlenecks. And in this case, could be sent outside as an additional partner. to support any management of traffic in the drive-through queue or blocking of the drive-through lane. Christine?
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. At this moment, I'd like to turn it over to Holly King, the owner's representative, to say a few words on behalf of the property owner. I'd also like to say thank you again to Chair Chavez and the entire Planning Commission for the opportunity to speak before you again this evening, as we all look forward towards another successful project for the city of Oxnard. Holly?
Thank you, Christine. Good evening to all of the commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to come back to the Planning Commission tonight. My name is Holly King Winiger, and I'm the property owner's representative. I'm also a certified land use planner under AICP, and I was brought on to the team in the beginning of the project to help facilitate the project through the planning division. The project is a major modification to an existing SUP and drive-through permit. The reason it's taken 18 months is because the planning staff, department staff, the architects, MCG
Ms. King?
architects. Yes.
You kind of froze for a while.
Oh, really? Okay, sorry. Do I start all over again, or I don't know?
I
Start
think
from
maybe-
SUP.
There you
Okay,
go.
all right. The project's a major modification to the existing SUP for Wendy's. And we thought the project would take about 6 to 9 months. However, this project has taken 18 months to get it to you today. The reasons it's taken 18 months is because the planning staff, department staff, and architects, MCG architects, Starbucks, and the property owner team have cooperatively worked together to give you the project that you are seeing tonight. There were many basic requests from the city, problems with the site that had needed updating for a while, the trash enclosure, the drainage on site, the need to improve the existing facade, and the minimal landscaping that was on site. We offered all of those requested changes from the start at the request of city staff. And then we listened to city staff and their department staff, specifically traffic and engineering, on how to make the site work better. A better queuing plan, an enhanced TDM plan, a thoughtful parking layout to take most advantage of the mobile order and pay customers, stay and eat customers and employees. There was also thoughtful consideration for pedestrians. The team has worked tirelessly on this project and always hand in hand with city planning staff and DAC member staff such as traffic, engineering, and fire, and solid waste in order to bring the Planning Commission a project that the city could support and a project that would overhaul and improve the property 1000%. Thank you for the opportunity to be back here tonight. I thought we provided more clarity to you regarding the traffic management, the parking, and the operational procedures of this project. Starbucks is an outstanding community partner, and they would love to be at this site. The project before you today is accumulation of that hard work, and city staff is in full support of this project, and we are eager for the Planning Commission to approve this project and make a decision on it tonight. We have representatives available to speak on behalf of the project. If you need any more clarification, we have Beverly Metz, who's the store development director for Starbucks. We have Stephen Poon, who's the store development manager for Starbucks. Anthony Valdez, who's the district manager for Starbucks, and you just heard from him. We have James Spencer, Sally Park, and Christine Fong, who you've heard Christine tonight, of MCG Architects. The property owner is on the call too, Matt Friedrich, and of course, I'm available to answer any questions as well. Thank you so much.
Ms. Fong, is that the end of the presentation?
Yes, that concludes our presentation. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Staff, is there any, I know from our last meeting, there was a lot of questions and concerns from the commission, and the presentation was very detailed. Is there any additional information that was not touched that needs to be addressed?
Chair Chavez and commissioners, the questions that were asked by the Planning Commission at the last hearing We did respond to those in the memo that was provided with this attachment or with the packet for this hearing. So we believe that we touched on the items that were asked, but again, we are here if there's further questions or if the commission needs any additional details on any of these items.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Commissioners, questions for staff or the applicant team? Commissioner Nash.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. This is for the applicant. And I don't think any of my fellow and lady commissioners have raised this issue. But in looking at the site plan, the compact, well, the parking on the west side of the site, I don't see how those people can access the entrance to the Starbucks restaurant itself without having to cross both the parking lot and the queue and the pickup queue. And that seems like a kind of a fatal flaw almost. It doesn't seem that safe. And I don't know if the applicant has a response to that, to my concern.
I can answer that question if everybody's okay with that.
Thank you.
Again, thank you, Commissioner Nash, for your question. First, I'd like to point out that this is an existing condition of the site. It's no different with the current Wendy's, and it is certainly one of the challenges of the site. We did look at different opportunities to provide a better pedestrian access. And unfortunately, the best solution that we were all able to come up with was that those patrons would need to use the public sidewalk in order to access the site. And that was part of the discussion to add and enhance the existing pedestrian access that you see on this screen close to bubble number 6, was to make sure that we would provide that access there, and that was the safest place, was to direct customers to use the public sidewalk rather than trying to cross through the drive-through lane, which is why there's landscaping there to prevent them from crossing.
Okay, great, thank you. That wasn't, I didn't really pick up on that in the report. So they would go down to the sidewalk and then gain access that way. Okay, well that solves the issue of having to cross the pickup queue. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your questions, Commissioner Nash. Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the applicant's presentation and the additional comments and clarifications. Those are really helpful. And I can appreciate all of the work that's gone into this project. So my concern is something that unfortunately is not within the control of the applicant, and only something that could be influenced by the city, and that's the nature of the intersection itself and what is allowed in terms of U-turn and the timing of the light at the intersection. I myself drive that intersection twice, most weekdays, in both directions, and so I have some intimate experience with that. So I guess I apologize, Chair. I think my comments would be more comments rather than a question, because I don't see it as something that could be resolved. So I think I'll reserve my additional comments for later on. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Meyer. Commissioner Dr. Lopez.
Thank you. Also very much appreciated, I think, the clarification that was provided on the traffic demand management plan, the slides that the applicant included. And I have one question on signage and then a second for the applicant, and a second question on that traffic demand management plan for staff. First question on the signage. It's going to be one-way entry and one-way exit. Yet on the materials that were made available to us, there was no, I guess those weren't included. Is specific signage going to be at the entry or at the exit so that people don't try to enter through the exit because they missed the entrance that's closer to the intersection, and as well as because right there or along that maybe 200 feet there, it's blocked by a median, I believe. So is there going to be signage directing one-way entry and do not enter one-way exit for folks?
Thank you, Commissioner Dr. Lopez. Yes, absolutely. We will provide directional signage. I do believe, Mr. Pearson, I have an extra slide in there towards the end that shows some of the signage. I'm not sure if it specifically includes the do not enter sign, but it does indicate the signage for, this way enter, this way drive through lane. I'm trying to think off the top of my head what else is included, but it is the intention of our project design to make sure that the signage is very clear, given the fact that we have a one-way traffic. And the good thing is that because that matches the existing site plan that, the Wendy's that everybody kind of knows already, we're also, we were encouraged to kind of keep with that flow so that we don't change it and then suddenly confuse people. It is consistent. Certainly new patrons, would need to learn, but it's consistent with what's there now.
Great.
And we'll have more signage, yes.
Okay, perfect. And I think I do see it now as a smaller sign that says exit only, and maybe the entry one way is the drive-through. And so, okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Let's see. And so second question for staff. I think in the presentation, there was mention of that, throughout this process, planning, building and engineering, traffic, fire and police have reviewed both the site design and the traffic management plan to ensure the project will not impede traffic on adjacent streets. I believe it was slide 19 of the staff presentation, and that city shall have the ability to reevaluate and amend the plan as needed. Could you elaborate a little bit about what steps the city would be able to take to enforce any changes if needed?
Yes, Commissioner Dr. Lopez. So that was one of the questions that came up at the previous hearing. And so we kind of talked about that in our memo, kind of talking about how condition number 38 would be implemented. And so just to kind of summarize that, the idea would be that if there was a issue that had been identified either through the public or by staff, we would initially reach out to contact the business and the property owner and notify them of the problem, and then essentially take immediate actions to try to resolve that problem while we worked closely with the property owner and the business to come up with those kind of more permanent solutions. We would basically be trying different options to try to address that issue. But again, having that initial solution in place to prevent the backup and the impacts to the street, and then working with them to come up with the permanent solution, whether that included just additional operational changes or possibly site changes. So there would be a permit process that they would be submitting for. And then that's how we would basically come up with those kind of more permanent, either physical or operational improvements.
And I get, thank you. And I get that, sometimes, the initial public reaction or the busyness, right, is initial to grand openings. I'm reminded of another business that was approved before when it opened, and that there was, just general reaction because of the traffic, and it was impeding on roads and into the traffic, the freeway entrance and exits and whatnot. And I know that we brought it up back as a planning commission, if anything could be done. Eventually, I think it wore off. I'm sure there was measures that were taken within the existing parking lot to redirect the traffic flow and whatnot. But I do remember an initial, both just widespread public reaction to the way traffic was impeded in these busy intersections and thoroughfares. Would we as a planning commission, if there was things that were brought to our attention, not saying staff wouldn't, take action, but as a planning commission, would we be able to do anything as well as, as necessary, if necessary, and if anything at all, or is it just outside of our purview, and then it falls within city staff and departments to circumvent?
Again, Commissioner Dr. Lopez, it would fall to basically city staff working with our city traffic engineer to basically work to resolve that issue. So it wouldn't necessarily come back before the commission, but again, it would basically be city staff working with them through our public works director and community development director and city traffic engineer.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for all the hard work, the continued work on all the parties, staff, and applicant side in bringing this item back to us. I yield my questions at this time. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Dr. Lopez. Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I had a couple questions for Mr. Rosell. I would like to know any further or possible legal consequences in regards to any possible actions by the Planning Commission if we decided to delay deciding for another meeting, delay deciding indefinitely, or if we choose not to make a decision at all. I'm well versed with the parliamentary reasons and consequences, and I just want to have the legal consequences detailed for me and for the Planning Commission. Thank you very much.
Absolutely happy to respond to that issue. It has been my advice to planning commissions and city councils that I have represented over the years that to the extent that you say you're going to delay indefinitely, that staff treats that as a denial because it is unfair to the applicant to not have the ability to appeal either your denial or if there's an opponent to appeal the approval of your project. So if that was a decision, we would then take it automatically to the city council, deeming that a denial. It is also staff's recommendation, if at all possible, that you make a decision tonight to either approve or deny the project. If there are four votes to deny the project, we do not have the resolution prepared in advance for denial, so we would request that you provide specific bases for denial, and we would bring it back. It would be the first meeting in January that we would bring it back with a resolution of denial. If you're going to approve it, obviously there is documents here for you to do that, but we would request, if at all possible, that you make a decision this evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosell, and thank you, Chair. That's all the questions I had.
Thank you, Vice Chair Rejo. Commissioner Connolly.
I just want to thank the applicant for their detailed second presentation. It answered most of my questions, but Vice Chair Arejo's question and statement just brought up one quick question for me for the applicant. Are there other sites in the city of Oxnard that you're working towards or doing investigations on at this point? That's my only question.
I can answer that, Commission. Thank you very much for your time this evening and your consideration. My name is Beverly Metz. I'm the Director of Store Development for Starbucks. And yes, we are working on several locations within the city of Oxnard, several of which are already into the city through the permitting process and the planning and entitlement process. They are at various stages, and predominantly, with the exception of this one, they are projects that developers, as part of either larger projects or a multi-tenant building that they are pursuing on our behalf. So it's not Starbucks as the applicant, but rather a developer pursuing them. But the reason for the multiple projects is due to the great demand within your community, and also in an effort to alleviate the busyness of the stores and the success that we've had within your community, so that we don't have traffic problems at Rose and Gonzalez and things like that. So we're doing our best to embrace what we know our customers want, and also make a great partner experience for those who work in the stores to have a better environment to work where it's not so busy and so crazy. So we are pleased with our success in the city, and hope to continue to do so. Hopefully that answers your question, Commissioner.
It does. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions from the commission? I have a few questions, and I'll start with the applicant team. I'm looking at one of the slides from the presentation. It talked about the drive-through demand measure hourly. And on the bottom, it says that it was performed on the highest volume store in Southern California. One of the comments that I made last time was utilizing data collected from stores within Oxnard. Which location in Southern California was that data collected from?
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I'm not sure. Are you looking at the chart?
The bar graph that.
Okay. I just want to point out that I did change the title of that slide. We were going to provide some different information and then chose not to, but accidentally left on an old title. So in the presentation that you saw tonight, that data is pulled from various stores in the location, in the nearby area, as well as calculated based on the demand that was provided in our parking study. That parking study was performed on the Costa Mesa location. I do not know the address of it off the top of my head, but it is included in the parking study.
Okay, let me, just for clarification, was any data collected off of drive-throughs within the city of Oxnard?
For this specific project, no traffic studies were performed on specifically Oxnard related stores, as there was not time to provide that information back to the commission in time for this hearing. Those traffic studies take an extensive amount of time, and they're very costly to perform a second time.
Thank you. I appreciate that information. Mr. Valdez, you're the district manager for the Oxnard stores, correct? Did I hear that correct?
That is correct.
What has been your experience with the locations? And I'm assuming that you are managing all the locations in Oxnard. What has been your experience with the locations that have drive-throughs?
So I oversee everything in North Oxnard. That would be the Rose and Gonzalez and Esplanade drive-through stores. They have been huge successes in the community, and are actually over capacity, which is what we are looking to support, right? They are actually busier than we traditionally like a Starbucks store to be.
Now, I'm assuming that you have constant communication with the store owners or the managers of those stores. Have they discussed with you the number of cars that are in the queue? Because you just said that they are busy, they're over capacity.
Yes, we'll consistently talk about. That's why we brought the new handheld devices, which is actually new technology for Starbucks, into the Rose and Gonzalez and Esplanade store to actually support demand with those queues. We've been able to improve drive-through times by increasing those stacks and getting our partners outside to take orders, direct traffic, and increase production time within the stores. So that has been a very successful tactic for us over the last 6 months.
Now, did you happen to collect any data that you can be able to share as to the performance metrics that were utilized in order to determine a traditional drive-through versus utilizing a team member out there?
As an operator, my metrics are a little different, but we consistently look at drive-through times. And we actually have window times, which that's how fast a car would go through the window. So essentially, we had times approximately 49 to 50 seconds without the handheld devices. We now see times between 43 and 45 seconds consistently, window times with the handheld device in play. So that's every car during peak times 7 to 9, an average of 43 to 45 seconds.
So in layman's terms, what is occurring is that the traditional drive-through method is ultimately backing up the queue. And when you have more order takers, it's able to push the line faster.
Another handheld device increases the stack. It doesn't change it, but it gives you more production time. With more production time, you can create beverages and food faster.
Okay.
And increase the time. That's what a handheld device would actually do.
And the team members that are going out there, this is only one team member that obviously is trained to be able to go out into the parking lot, because I'm assuming safety measures are in place. They have a vest or something. And then they know how to navigate and be able to execute traffic management if need be, correct?
That is correct. We've actually talked to them. Example, at the Rose and Gonzalez store, cars can come from 2 different angles. We spent a lot of time working with partners on safety to ensure that they're not getting into the traffic, but going all the way out to where it's safe, but also communicating to cars on who should go next to avoid some of the confusion, or sometimes where customers become upset with each other because they feel like one should go before the other. So it's been very successful in supporting our customers with that, as well as increasing drive-through times.
I'm curious, and could be either for you, Mr. Valdez, or Ms. Fong. The delivery trucks coming to the Starbucks location, where are they anticipated to be parking at to unload the product, and the time frames that they're supposed to be at that location? And again, either Ms. Fong or Mr. Valdez.
Anthony, do you want me to jump in on that?
Go ahead, Christine. Thank you.
So our understanding of Starbucks deliveries across all of the sites that we've designed indicate that they can use just a standard parking stall. And usually those deliveries are performed at off-peak times or in the middle of the night. I don't know specifically, Anthony, maybe you do the specific times where they do their drop-offs, but it's certainly not going to be at 8 a.m. with, they don't want the delivery trucks taking up one of their customer parking spaces, right? So yeah, so it'll be, at 10 p.m. or after the store closes, depending on if it's running 24 hours and things like that. But a standard parking space works for them.
For a big box truck?
I think, Anthony, you can correct me, but I believe that they don't use like giant 18-wheelers or huge trucks to do their deliveries, because the deliveries happen constantly and so frequently that they're able to deliver with smaller vehicles.
Yeah, it would be a mid-size truck. It was a bigger truck, but it's a mid-size truck, not a 18-wheeler, for example. And then deliveries do take place depending on noise ordinances, usually after 8 p.m. during slow times, or during the middle of the night where there is not an impact to local residents.
So Mr. Valdez, just for clarification and in simpler terms, if I'm looking at a U-Haul truck, it would be considered the larger U-Haul truck, correct?
That is correct, Chair.
So on the site plan, where would that large U-Haul truck be able to park to unload the product if it's not going to be able to fit into a standard parking space?
As far as I understand, it should fit into a standard parking space.
For a large U-Haul truck?
I'm not familiar with the sizes of U-Haul trucks. Okay. So I don't know how to make a comparison to that particular comment, but we don't standard design a loading area specific for Starbucks, specific for their trucks. They typically use a standard parking stall unless there is an ordinance or something that requires us to provide a designated loading area.
Okay. I won't give my comments on that because that's going outside of the questions, but at this time, that will conclude my questions. Is there any additional questions from the commission? Okay.
Church.
Yes,
Chair-
Mr. Colwitz.
Yeah, Chair Chavez, staff actually had one quick question for Commissioner Sanchez for the record. Commissioner Sanchez, could you confirm that you did have an ability to review the materials presented previously when you were absent from the Planning Commission meeting?
Yes, Mr. Colwitz, I did read everything.
Okay,
I'm
thank
ready to
you.
go.
And no more questions from staff. We just wanted to get that on the record. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Colwitz. If there's no further questions from the commission, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for this item. Madam Secretary, just to confirm that we did not have anyone sign up before, correct?
Correct.
All right, so in accordance with AB 361, we'll go ahead and comply with the 3-minute time for additional members to participate on this item. Again, members can view the bottom of their screen for the telephone login information so that they can be able to provide comments. Again, this is timed for 3 minutes.
Mr. Colwitz, this is Commissioner Nash. Could you give us an update on the status of the council chambers and when we might ever get back inside?
Commissioner Nash, a couple updates. There's some which are related to construction. And then there's some which could be related to the ongoing pandemic, if you will. With the variants that keep popping up, there's discussion whether or not that's going to continually lead to extensions of the virtual meetings or not. The pandemic is not officially over at this point. And as long as the pandemic isn't over, staff's general statement would be, we believe that the virtual meetings are likely to continue. In terms of construction, the construction has proceeded. So I don't think the construction aspect of it is going to be what's going to hold us up anymore. So it really is pandemic related at this point in time. Certainly it will not be the next meeting. We'll be into the new year before we're able to get a better sense of when we might all be able to get back physically in the same room.
And I thank you for that update.
I didn't get an opportunity to submit my color choices that I wanted the chamber to be in. Is there still time for that?
If you need an architect, we can help design it for you.
I was just about to say that. We have an architect team right here, right now, you know, it could be a good option.
I do look forward to meeting you all in person, but I also don't mind being in the comfort of my own home. So, especially for these long ones, which have been most of them.
Especially since it's so cold tonight also. It's nice.
Commissioners, we have no new speakers.
Thank you, Madam Secretary, for that. Staff, any additional comments or information that needs to be provided to the commission?
Chair Chavez and commissioners, staff does not have any additional comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and move into deliberations. We'll start with Commissioner Nash.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. And I apologize for not picking up on the reason or the reasons why our vice chair expressed a desire to continue this item. If maybe if our chair could have him repeat his reasons for my better understanding, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
I don't think he gave reasons. I think he was just inquiring about what if we didn't make a decision tonight. Vice Chair, you can correct me if I was wrong.
Assuming that Commissioner Nash is done with his comments at this time, I would briefly, but I would like to make my own comments. No, the chair is correct that I did not have any specific reasons, at least not in terms of publicizing that to the commission at this time. I'd like to move on to the comments that I had. And that first off, before I forget, which I unfortunately do, is that I really thank Mr. Pearson for compiling and drafting the memorandum, and obviously everyone else who contributed to it regarding this Vineyard Starbucks site renovations. At this time, I acknowledge the replies given to questions 1 and 4 in regards to condition approval number 38 and the ability to connect the parking area on this site to the property to the north and have little or no serious reservations with them. Regarding question 2, while I am still concerned about not having a U-turn sign installed, I am more concerned with the already greater than average likelihood of grid blocking at the intersection in general and being exacerbated or occurring at greater frequencies due to just one car jutting into River Park Boulevard. As stated in the previous public hearing in the first meeting of November, and primarily my comments are for question number 3. And for the record, question 3 in the memo was provide additional information on other Starbucks parking provided and queue length for their facilities in the area. I have no disagreements with the demand analysis of a gap in the Starbucks service area. I do not, however, accept that the mere greater number of parking provided and queue length spaces at the Vineyard project site sufficiently mitigates the external negative effects that the inevitable traffic blockage to this location will cause, mainly cars being queued out of the drive-through stacking area and into River Park Boulevard, causing blockage on not only River Park Boulevard, but also into the intersection with East Vineyard Avenue. This Vineyard project site, unfortunately, has immediate spillage of excess traffic into River Park Boulevard and then just another car length until the crosswalk of the intersection with East Vineyard Avenue. This negatively compares with 3 other nearby Starbucks locations with drive-thrus in Oxnard, 2 locations listed in the chart on page 3 of 4 of the memo, and a third on Channel Islands in Rose, specifically at 1611 East Channel Islands Boulevard. The first on Esplanade and Wagon Wheel, excess cars frequently bleed out into the parking lot and occasionally onto Esplanade Drive. The most amount of cars I have ever seen queued on Esplanade Drive was 5. And although there was some frustration at driving around the queued up cars, I felt safe to bypass them and they were never in danger of blocking the intersection with Oxnard Boulevard if you would have extended the queue all the way there. On Gonzalez and Rose, even if there were 20 cars queued up in addition to a fully stacked up drive-through, the excess cars are all in a private lot, and though they may block internal circulation, which happens more than occasionally, it does not impact the city streets. On Channel Islands and Rose, a location that I just patronized this morning, the same reasoning as with the Gonzalez and Rose is logical because both excess cars queuing up are all contained in a private lot. I urge the Planning Commission to deny this permit and vote in support of the denial. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Rejo, for your comment. Commissioner Connolly.
Thank you, Chair. My comments are going to be similar to Vice Chair Rejo's. I definitely appreciate the applicant's presentation and the city's recommendation on everything. I know personally, I've waited a very long time at another Starbucks in Oxnard, and I would love to have another Starbucks in Oxnard, you know, to have things go faster, but I feel like we're really putting a square peg in a round hole here, or however you say it, as just an observant, you know, person in Oxnard. I don't think that I don't think it's the right spot, even though all the research has been done and you guys are brilliant at what you do. I like I said, I think that we're really putting a square peg in a round hole. And even though it makes sense on paper, I just can't see it logistically making sense. And I can see a lot of really angry people in the future. So with that said, I don't think I can support this, and I'm probably going to vote against it as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Connolly. Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, at the previous hearing, I was actually in support of the proposal, despite concerns about traffic challenges. I felt like the traffic management plan could mitigate the concerns and could flex. But I think on further reflection, with regard to the concern around the intersection, I realized, and as I mentioned before, I have extensive and intimate experience with this intersection, traveling this intersection for the past 6 years on an almost daily basis, sometimes twice or 3 times daily. And I had raised concerns to Caltrans several years ago, before the McDonald's and Krispy Kreme had come to their level of service and popularity in that location. Simply the matter of the timing of the light was a concern when you have one lane that serves both as left turn lane and through lane for River Park Boulevard heading east through the intersection through Vineyard. As I had numerous experiences of, even at that time, 5-6 years ago, if there were 4 cars or more, it was unlikely that I would get through, having waited at the light for what seemed like probably about 1.5 minutes. It's a very long light for those in terms of the waiting. Vineyard Boulevard takes precedence, and understandably, given the volume. So that, that was a challenge. And I would find sometimes there'd be 9 cars, and that would mean 2 or 3 light cycles just to get through traveling in that direction. That is without a situation where a car was doing a U-turn. It's been fairly uncommon in my experience at peak times that cars would do U-turns. Usually that would be if they're trying to get into, say, the Wendy's, or they had realized they had gone the wrong direction. But those were often very slow. If you look at the intersection, that intersection doesn't allow for a tremendous amount of space. So larger cars like large SUVs and trucks could often take a 3-point turn to get through. And that would pretty much take up most of the time for any cars to get through that intersection in that range. So Caltrans disagreed that the timing was problematic. And that's unfortunate because I see that as the ultimate sticking point is, one, that U-turns are allowed from that eastbound position in River Park Boulevard. And 2, that the timing of light is too short to allow for traffic at peak times to proceed in a reasonable fashion. I understand that the traffic engineer doesn't necessarily share the concern that I have. And I think that's why we have planning commissions and commissions such as this, where someone in that district who lives and works in that district can give you on the ground experience from a very extensive personal way of what it's like. I don't know that anybody else would have the experience of what it is like to be around that intersection. I'm in support of having Starbucks there. I think it would be an improvement. It would be valued by the customer base. And I think the steps that you've taken to mitigate a lot of the concerns are very reasonable. I think traffic management plan could be worked out. If the timing was improved to allow more cars through in that location, if the U-turns were prohibited and then sufficiently monitored by staff, PD, to ensure that cars do not block up that area, then I could see this potentially working, and I could see it as something that could be manageable with the other steps that are in place. One car that's trying to make a U-turn in that situation will block up not only the through lane, the left turn lane, but also the right turn lane and one of the through lanes going Vineyard south for folks that are trying to get through taking right turns. So that's problematic. I think without having U-turns as a possibility, cars could then take the left turn. They could then take the U-turn at the next opportunity, which is, I think, only perhaps 300 feet. It's not a major thing, and cars could learn, and people would learn, yes, there's a way around it, or they would go to one of the other nearby Starbucks, and thus the management of the locations would work out. But this is an issue for Caltrans and the city, because Caltrans is the decision-making body around management of that intersection and of Vineyard. So given that situation, as it stands without those changes, I cannot support this project at this time.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Meyer. Commissioner Dr. Lopez.
Well, I would first want to start by once again thanking staff and the applicant for all the time and work that went into preparing the second presentation for us tonight. I think my comments are a little bit different in tone and maybe a little bit more optimistic. Certainly recognizing the challenges of the just built environment of human traffic and just entry points, if you will, into the city. I think for me, I have to say, well, one more point before that, so I do take very seriously the deep thought, deliberation, and the comments by the other commissioners. A student of diversity, one of the things I appreciate most is the diversity of thought, right? So certainly I don't travel that thoroughfare or that intersection as much as Commissioner Meyer, and so definitely do appreciate once again just the insights and perspectives and experience that folks bring to the deliberation. That being said, I think for me, once again, perhaps being a little bit more optimistic, I took note of the aerial view of the site, which shows how big the entire site really is, to work with there. I, recognize that that the project is aligned with the city's general plan and zoning designations, and that the proposed site plan has looked at some creative uses of space to meet the business and drive-through demand, much like the McDonald's and the Krispy Kreme at the same intersection, but across the street. And so, the staff has brought forward the recommendation for approval, and I don't take that lightly either. I think city staff was concerned about the traffic circulation, both on site as well as in the public right of way, with a potential to back the adjacent street systems and intersections, which we've been discussing thoroughly there at Vineyard Avenue and River Park Boulevard. But I do feel that the plans have been redesigned to allow for that longer queue. And I think once again, it's just the matter of perspective, right? Rather than focusing on looking at this application at the optimum or most peak level of business consistently throughout the day, I'm looking at it as this is one business or corporation who's trying to meet the demands of their customer base, which so happens to be our residents, right? And so it would recalibrate, it would redistribute, it would hopefully allow for more people to be served and to meet that demand. I know, once again, human condition, if there's longer than 4 or 5 cars, like I will, myself just think twice. If it's something like 6 or 8 cars, I definitely change my plans and go somewhere else. And I think that that's, also true for a lot of people. Let's see. One of the things that I made note of was that the applicant has doubled the current city code requirement capacity of 8 spaces for the queue to the current proposal of 16, which I think far exceeds what many businesses may have. And it helps or alleviates, I should say, alleviates that problem. Let's see, what else? What did I want to make sure to say? I appreciate Commissioner, I believe it might have been Chair Chavez who asked about the deliveries, the delivery truck. I hadn't even thought about that, but thank you for the applicant for clarifying that they tend to be smaller vehicles and not necessarily the 18 wheeler. I think, for one of the more critical points aligned with that is that it allows for the emergency access at all times, including when the site is at full operation or at capacity. Let's see if there's anything else. There's over 140 conditions, if I'm not mistaken, conditions of approval. And so, I think once again, I just have confidence in our staff who has, I think, done all that they, all that turned over any stone of anything that potentially could impact this business from being successful at this site. And so I know it's a little bit of a break from what the other commissioners have expressed, but I feel comfortable enough, including with the traffic management development plan and my question earlier about what steps could be taken to make this work. I feel that a bigger concern is that Vineyard Avenue Highway is at 232 and the light there, which I feel that perhaps should be where a focus is in working with Caltrans to change. And so, I'm in a position where I feel comfortable supporting. Not sure how this will all play out in the end. We were tied 3-3, and so depending the outcome, just want to remind the applicant they always have the opportunity to appeal a decision of this commission to the city council, and just thank everyone for their time, their dedication, and their work and deliberation here. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dr. Lopez, for your comments. Commissioner Nash, I did see your hand, but just to allow the initial responses, I'll take Commissioner Sanchez and then you'll follow him. Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you to the Starbucks for the team that is here tonight, Mr. Valdez and Ms. Fong. Appreciate you being here tonight. I feel a little guilty because I was the one that was not able to make it to the initial meeting, and it's been sort of a long road for you, probably longer than it normally would have been. But basically, just give me a minute here. So, just like most people, my wife and I, we go to Starbucks. We love Starbucks, and there's one of the things that came to my mind that would be probably something where there would have to be a little bit more scrutiny as far as whether to have the Starbucks there or not. For me, it would be something along the lines, if there's some sort of a management issue where, say, it's not running right because the management is not good. And to me, you know, I haven't heard, I'm not aware of any sort of management issues, but if one of you could probably elaborate a little bit, what would cause a turnover or something like that, where basically they would change the management, or they would not be able to put it there because maybe they don't have competent people. If somebody could just elaborate on that.
Chair Chavez, if staff could hop in here for a brief second. What we would propose is performance standards essentially that could be built into or are built into the transportation demand management program would be something that would not be personnel based. It would be based on the operations of the actual facility. And the way that the program has currently been designed, as we've conditioned it and as the applicant team has shown to everyone on their slides tonight, there are procedures that are in place as the traffic queue starts backing up. So those are inherently built into the system. And then as shared with us tonight for the on-site aspects that the applicant team can control, Starbucks is constantly evolving their program and how to manage things and to move things through. Their handheld devices, they gave testimony today on how those have helped speed up the queue. And this is a particular store where it has been given permission to implement that as a system. But ultimately, the words that I would fall back to would be performance measures is what we get to implement to make sure that a facility is operating in a certain manner.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Sanchez. Commissioner Nash.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I supported this previously and I support this tonight. So I want to talk about a couple of issues. If we do not approve this tonight, I assume it will be appealed and brought before the City Council. And it is my opinion that the City Council would look at this a little bit differently than we do and would probably approve it. This is a great business that brings in a lot of revenue. It will improve this site, which to me is a gateway location. I kind of feel that this neighborhood and Del Rio, they deserve a Starbucks. I think they want a Starbucks. And we are looking at a corporation, the Starbucks Corporation. They have put their best minds, if you will, into figuring out a way to make this project work. And even really if this project would even work, I have great confidence in their ability to do such calculations. And we are not privy to their algorithms, but I'm sure that if this business exceeds all expectations, that they would construct another Starbucks in this same vicinity to relieve some of the congestion. Their job is to make money. They do it wonderfully. They know how to do it to the greatest extent possible. I appreciate all of the comments and all of the concerns from my fellow commissioners. And I think it really points out that we all are interested in the quality of life here in the city of Oxnard. And so often that revolves around traffic and congestion and parking, certainly. I'm kind of surprised that we haven't heard about the level of service. Maybe I missed it, and maybe it's no longer a relevant metric, but we all know that the level of service at this intersection is probably a D or F even. And I don't have the answer for that. Maybe technology will lead us to a better traffic future. I don't know. So I will support this, and I hope we can muster the 4 votes, because this is a project that will benefit the city of Oxnard. That, to me, that's the bottom line. Will it benefit the city of Oxnard? Will it provide a service that's not currently provided? And I think that as I mentioned before, El Rio wants this, and they deserve it. They deserve good things. And I do think the city council would approve this if we drop it in their laps. So that concludes my statements, and I thank you, Chair Chavez.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Nash and Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. It's while my comments may have been construed, and I would like it to be so, as a full-throated endorsement to deny this permit. I was asking questions of Mr. Roselle because, I do use Starbucks a lot, and I do see a need for a Starbucks in a general proximity to the area. And so, given the comments, if I can make it specifically in regards to what Commissioner Meyer just previously said, I would be open to postponing this hearing, regardless of what the consequences from Mr. Roselle stated, until a traffic study was made and sufficient mitigation or changes were made in that intersection by Caltrans. I understand that a lot of that is me being in the federal government and that being on the state side, and we're on the city. I understand that that would take a while, but in my opinion, given the comments and that I could see a Starbucks in here, if I got further determination or confirmation that the traffic management plan would be adhered to by the applicant and the city would enforce it well, I could see myself at least supporting a motion to postpone until Caltrans made a study and changes. But I am not as in favor to make that motion. And without that motion, I still urge my fellow planning commissioners to deny this permit. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair, for your comments. Commissioner Sanchez.
Yes, thank you. So there was a motion, right, by
No motion has been put forward.
oh, none, okay.
We're still in the deliberation, and keep in mind, I still haven't provided my comments, so.
Okay.
So let me go ahead and just give my comments, and then we'll start seeing the motions flying. First off, let me thank our staff and thank the applicant team for being with us again this evening. I appreciate a lot of the points that were brought up during the presentation. It answered a lot of questions, but it also raised other questions. I want to specifically talk about a few items, but the first one that I want to touch on is in regards to the intersection right there. Now, myself and Commissioner Meyer and Commissioner Sanchez, we're kind of like the original commissioners from a few months ago before the new ones came on. And we had a project come before us, the Encanto project, and not Encanto, Rio Urbana project off of Vineyard. And our concerns was this intersection and the traffic impacts that it will have. Now, the service level put it, I believe, I think it was like a B or a C. So it was considered to be a good, but we all drive through that. One of our former vice chair, Chua, you know, he's a planner in his own day job, and he brought up great points in regards to that intersection. As we all know, Caltrans is in charge of Vineyard Avenue. So any changes that are made, it goes through the state. And if you think city government is a long process, the state's even longer. I'm going to reiterate my comments from last time of saying of my concerns that I don't believe the measures that are going to be taken will actually play out the way that it is on paper. We say, don't block this area so that cars can travel through. Well, people are going to do whatever they want. They'll block it. And now you have cars backing up that are trying to exit from picking up their mobile orders. And now you have this traffic jam. I do not see Starbucks employees going out there and telling cars, you can't come inside our property because we already have 16 cars. I don't see that happening. My questions in regards to the delivery trucks, because I see those delivery trucks and they're large U-Haul trucks. They're not the 18-wheelers, but they're pretty large trucks. And my concerns was, where would they go to unload? And yes, it's off peak, it's 8 o'clock at night. There's not that many cars going, but where do they park in the time being? Do they take up 4 parking spaces, the mobile order, the disabled parking spaces, and the spaces right in front so that they can unload? Do they park in the curve where it's a one-way flow and potentially block traffic or make it dangerous for motorists and customers to exit? Or do they park in the bus stop where I see that happens so many times, and there's still a bus route that travels through there, that goes to El Rio, that goes to River Park, that goes to the Esplanade? And now where does that bus stop at? In the middle of the intersection to let people on and off? So that's my concerns with trying to figure out where exactly was that delivery truck supposed to park at. The concerns with this intersection, and Commissioner Nash made a comment at our last meeting, and it stuck with me, that it's odd for us to go against good business. We all know Starbucks does a great job in their industry. We see the lines all the time. We've all mentioned that we are all Starbucks drinkers. My wife and I, we have feuds because I prefer Starbucks, she prefers Coffee Bean. But we all understand realistically what we see daily. Of course, I cut down my Starbucks from 5 days a week to 2 days a week, but it's still there though. I drive by the Starbucks by my home, and that queue is huge. It's more than 16 cars, and it bleeds into the parking lot. So now people that are exiting the parking lot are having to navigate around these cars waiting for the Starbucks. This is an intersection that's already busy. It has semi trucks that go through there. We have school buses. We have public transit buses. We have children walking. We have families walking. And now we potentially could have a Starbucks in this location that could have the queue bleed out onto River Park, that could potentially block the view of another motorist of seeing somebody, a pedestrian walking in the area. This is a huge concern. This is not personal against Starbucks. This is about the quality of life and the impacts that it will have on the community of Oxnard. This isn't about saying, El Rio, you don't get to have a Starbucks. This isn't that case. This is about a quality of life issue and how it's going to impact today, tomorrow, 5 years, 10 years down the road. I understand that the traffic management plan says that once the operation starts, it's going to have a 6-month review, then a 12-month review, and then I'm not even 100% sure if it's going to continue for the review to determine if the management plan is working or not. But it worries me. And through my classes in business, it's always about location, location, location. Where are you going to see the most foot traffic, the most motorists? Well, this is the ideal location. But it also comes with consequences. And this consequences is the negative impact on the traffic and the community. Again, on paper, I believe Commissioner Connolly said on paper, it looks great. It looks like it could work. But once it actually gets into play and into motion, it's a different story. And do we have the measures in place to be able to correct it afterwards? Again, I do not see Starbucks employees going and turning away cars. I don't see that. I wish there was some data about Oxnard locations. That was one of my big things that I mentioned last month about Oxnard locations, because it would be interesting to see what that data looked like. But even the slide from the applicant team at 8 a.m., it exceeded the 16 mark. And was it, how long did it actually last that they exceeded that 16 mark? Was it the full hour? Was it 30 minutes? Was it 20 minutes? I don't know. Maybe it bled into the 9 o'clock hour time. Maybe it started at 7:30 or 7:45. Like the vice chair and the other commissioners, I will continue to stand firm with my decision from last time and not support this project. Thank you. Commissioners, if there's no further discussion on this item, I will be looking for a motion. Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I move, I'm trying to see how I should word this. I move to deny the permit I move to deny the planning and zoning permit 21-550-01 subject to certain findings and conditions.
So the motion is for a denial of the Starbucks renovations project. Is there a second? Or hold on.
Chair Chavez, this is Scott Kolowitz. I might be able to help a little bit here. So I believe the words that our vice chair is looking for essentially is to make a motion of intent to deny the project. You don't have to worry about the case number. We can fill all of that in. And what we would be looking for if the planning commission is to go down that route, it would be to provide the rationale, which basically means that we, the planning commission, could not find one or more of the required findings required for a special use permit. So to help remind the planning commission of the findings that need to be made, all 5 need to be made to approve it, but only 1. But you deny the project if you only could not make 1 or more of those. So I'm going to read all 5 of them just so it's out there for everyone's food for thought. So the 5 findings that need to be made is number 1, the proposed use is in conformance with the general plan and other adopted policies of the city of Oxnard. Number 2, the nature, condition, and development of adjacent uses, buildings, and structures shall be considered, and no proposed special use permit shall be granted if the approval body finds such use will adversely affect or be materially detrimental to the adjacent uses, buildings, or structures, or to the public health, safety, or general welfare. The third finding.
Mr. Colwitz, I think the microphone might have went out because I'm not getting no audio from you.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can, yes.
Okay, I might be coming in stereo now. Okay, so number 3 is the site that is subject to the special use permit shall be adequate in size and shape to accommodate the yards, walls, fences, parking and loading facilities, landscaping, and items which may be required by the conditions section of special use permits. Finding 4 is the site that is subject to the special use permit shall be served by highways adequate in width and improved as necessary to carry the kind and quantity of traffic such uses will generate. And number 5 is the site that is subject to the special use permit shall be provided with adequate sewage, water, fire protection, and storm drain facilities. So with those 5 read, we could go back to any of those if that would help the commission. But if there is a motion of intent to be denied, what we would ask is the planning commission to identify which one of those findings could not be met. It could be one or more. And then we would look for justifications to be put into the ultimate resolution that we would come back with. And we don't have to figure out a date to come back at this point in time. We can do that kind of as a second portion, but that's the start of the conversation.
Thank you for that, Mr. Colwitz. So Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I raise a point of information and requests that finding 1 is repeated.
Okay. Finding 1 is the proposed use is in conformance with the general plan and other adopted policies of the city of Oxnard.
Thank you, Mr. Colwitz. At this time, I move to intend to deny the permit because it does not conform to finding number 2. That's my motion. I move to intend to deny due to the lack of finding number 2.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We'll clean it up. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you, Chair. We have another reading of item 4, Mr. Colwitz.
Yes. So item number 4 is the site that is subject to the special use permit shall be served by highways adequate in width and improved as necessary to carry the kind and quantity of traffic such use will generate.
Thank you. So would that relate beyond, as I hear highways, that seems to relate beyond the property itself, its driveways and such to the roads that feed it? Would that be accurate?
Yes, it does talk about the greater infrastructure, if you will. The question that staff would pose back to the planning commission, if we're going to go down that thought process for not making that finding, is the situation that's not being met, is it due to existing traffic or is it due to this project in its own right. So that's just something, again, for the planning commission to chew on in terms of your thought process.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, the concerns that I had around the intersection, the need for an OU turn, the need for improved timing are items that, regardless of this project moving forward or not, would be appropriate and beneficial to the function of the intersection. So that's why I was looking at whether number 2 and number 4 would be appropriate, as they both seem to touch on the concerns.
Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you, Chair. Since we're technically on waiting upon a second to my motion and without a decision right now by the chair, and because it hasn't been seconded, it's not before the body, I will be amending my motion by saying that I move to intend to deny this permit based on finding number 2 and finding number 4.
Okay, Commissioner Meyer.
I second the motion.
Thank you. It's been moved and second for an intent of denial of the Starbucks renovations project in relations to finding that findings number 2 and 4 could not have been met. Is there any discussion on that motion? Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. Since I was the mover of this motion, I'll state that at least in regards to what I initially proposed as finding number 2, that I do believe that that the adjacent structures, but more specifically, the public health and wellness would not be served by the city of Oxnard. And if I could add to finding number 4, that the highways, specifically what's commonly known as Vineyard Avenue, will not adequately service the location as the permit is presented. Thank you, Chair Chavez. That's all my comments for now.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Connolly.
I would just like to ask for clarity because I wrote in my notes number 3 and 4 to agree to deny, or reasons to deny, and that number 3 is the special use permit. Can you just repeat the special use permit in number 3 for me, please?
Yes, the finding number 3 states the site that is subject to the special use permit shall be adequate in size and shape to accommodate the yards, walls, fences, parking and loading facilities, landscaping, and items which may be required by section 16532, which is a reference in the Oxnard City Code to conditions which could be applied to a project.
Thank you. So I'd like to move to amend number 3 to Vice Chair's motion.
Okay. That's your motion is
Moving, did I say it correctly to add number 3 to his motion? Or would I have to restate the whole thing?
Vice Chair, would you be open to a friendly amendment to add 3?
Not to, I would request at this time, Chair, that you ask for a second just for procedural sake, but I do intend to second if you do call on me first before Commissioner Meyer. Thank you.
Okay, so Commissioner Connolly has put before the commission a secondary motion to add finding number 3. Is there a second on that?
I second, Chair.
Vice Chair has seconded the secondary motion to add finding number 3 to the original motion. Is there any discussions on that secondary motion? Commissioner Meyer, did you have comments on that secondary motion, or were you looking for the main one?
The main one.
Okay,
Sure.
is there any discussion for the secondary motion? Seeing and hearing none. Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call on the secondary motion of adding finding number 3 to the main motion?
Commissioner Connolly,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whitehall,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez,
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash.
I have a question for Mr. Rozell. If I don't support the motion itself, how should I vote on this amended motion?
This is a procedural vote to amend the underlying motion. So I of course can't tell you how to vote, but if desired, you could vote yes on this, but no on the greater motion based on your comments to date. So, or you could vote no on this. You can go either way, but the more important vote will be the final vote, assuming this number 3 is incorporated into your overall motion. Then it would be whether or not you want to actually approve the project. So either way will work, and you still reserve the right to vote no against this motion.
Thank you for the clarification. My vote is no.
What's your, is it yes or no? No. Commissioner Sanchez,
No.
Chair Chavez,
Aye.
motion passes.
Thank you. We'll now return back to the main motion with the amendment of adding finding number 3. Is there any discussion, any further discussions on the main motion? Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so with the 3 conditions, I can understand, I think the rationale for all 3 to some degree. I don't necessarily feel that they are all equally strong, but I think that helps to give some context to where this will go next. As we are an advisory body, I'm under no illusion that the next step wouldn't be anything, if we were to deny this project, that the next step would be anything other than an appeal to the city council, where it may indeed be possible that it will be approved regardless of our recommendation. But I feel like it's important that we put forward our best feedback, recommendations, so that they have proper food for thought, and our record is laid out for the future.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Is there any additional deliberation on that main motion? I'll just give a couple of comments. I believe the 3 findings are adequate and tie in to this. Finding number 2, dealing with the quality of life and safety component. Again, this is a safety concern. When you have potential for cars to bleed out into there, it affects the pedestrians in the area and other motorists. Number 3, the finding number 3, in regards to the special use permit, I don't believe that the site is adequate to be able to fit this type of project. And number 4, in regards to the traffic, it's already clear. As long as Caltrans has control over Vineyard, this will be a hindering for this project to move forward at this specific location. So those are my comments on there. And if there's no further deliberations on it, we'll go to our Commission Secretary for the roll call on this motion.
Vice Chair Weho,
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly,
Just for clarification, we're agreeing to deny, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez,
No.
Commissioner Nash,
No.
Commissioner Sanchez,
No.
Chair Chavez.
Aye.
Motion passes.
So
And again, the Starbucks applicant team, I believe it's 15 days that you can appeal the decision of the commission. Or Madam Secretary, if you can just read that, you do a better job than I did.
So Chair Chavez, this is Scott Colts. I'm going to hop in here really quick. One of the things that we need that I alluded to earlier is as a motion of intent, staff needs to prepare the resolution and bring it back to everyone. So essentially the Planning Commission just gave us direction to prepare the formal resolution to deny it. We have to do that now and come back as part of due process to officially give all those written reasons. So we need to actually seek a date to bring it back to the Planning Commission. That would then be the formal document, which then could be appealed up to the City Council. So what that means procedurally right now, we're December 2nd today. Staff will not be able to turn around this in time for your next meeting, which is December 16th, which means we would be looking into the calendar year 2022 in January to bring this back to the body. Your first regular meeting following standard protocols in January 2022 would normally be January 6th. However, the City Council, for purposes of redistricting, has taken that night as a special meeting for the City Council. And what we would recommend at this point in time to stay with your Thursday meetings is that we bring this back for a special meeting on January 13th. That's a Thursday night, standard time at 6 o'clock. And other items could also be brought that same night to you, but this would be the first one on the agenda.
Okay. Does that require a motion, or was that just administratively just notifying us?
Administratively, we'll include that in the motion because that's what a motion of intent to deny does. So the formal motion will read something along the lines of make a motion of intent to deny this permit. We'll fill in all the appropriate numbers with a formal resolution of denial to return on January 13th, 2022, because the following findings could not be made, is more or less how that motion will read. And then the actual resolution will go into the details for what could not actually have been made.
And staff feels confident that all comments made by the commission is sufficient.
The staff has enough source material to work with here to draft that resolution.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. For a little bit of clarification, if and when the Planning Commission approves the motion to attend to deny in the finalized form in a to be determined date in January, does the Planning Commission have the ability, or are they legally barred from sending a representative to the City Council to give the official Planning Commission perspective, or is that done purely through staff? Thank you.
I'd be happy to answer that. It is not the city's policy to send a formal representative, but any of the planning commissioners are welcome to speak to the City Council to provide some of the basis for either their support of the motion of denial or for their opposition to the motion of denial.
Sorry, Chair, a quick follow-up. Would that happen in the context of the agenda item within the deliberations or presentation to the City Council? Or are you talking about in our own capacity, which I don't plan to as an individual or concerned citizen in a public hearing matter? So I'm just asking, were you talking about public hearing or within the scope of deliberations or question and answer of what we do with staff and applicants?
Any comment by a member of the Planning Commission would be in the public comment portion. It would not be in staff presentation, which, as you know, pursuant to Measure M is extremely limited. But it would be during the regular public comment period.
Acknowledge. Thank you, Ms. Rosa, and thank you, Chair. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. And I would wholeheartedly urge all of my commissioners to speak before the City Council. I think that they would really appreciate hearing from the members of their citizen advisory groups, whether you're pro or con. So to any of us who can find the time to speak, I think that's a wonderful idea and a wonderful precedent. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That concludes this item. And we will await until our next not our next regular meeting, but in January for the formal resolution of denial for this project. And then again, the applicant team has their right of the appeal process to take it up to the City Council at that time. So thank you again, applicant team, for being here and answering our questions. And sorry. So we'll go ahead and proceed to our next item. We have nothing listed under study sessions and reports. Planning Commission business. Commissioners, any business to bring before the commission? Seeing and hearing none. Actually, I do have email was sent out in regards, and I brought this up at our last meeting, or maybe a couple of meetings ago. The Oxnard Leadership Academy is still taking applications for individuals. It's 10 sessions. You get to learn more about the city of Oxnard. You get to visit the wastewater facility, interact and speak with local leaders such as the mayor, city manager, supervisors. You have the opportunity to also be able to view the wastewater, the trash collection. That whole day is kind of just smelly, wastewater, trash collection, but there's pros in there. So if you're interested, please reach out to the WV, the West Ventura County WVCBA. Sorry, they changed the name. Website, and then you can fill out the application. Scholarship grants are available, and the tuition fee is $900. It's a good investment to learn about Oxnard, and then you build new connections with everyone in your cohort. This is a smaller scale compared to the VCLA, but it's all central around Oxnard and a huge benefit. So I encourage my commissioners and any member of the public to consider to learn more about the city of Oxnard, and if you have future plans on running for office, because that is something that the chamber does look at, or sorry, the alliance does look at when it comes to elections time. So Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. You already alluded or talked about it in one of the 3-minute holding patterns that we had, but I'd just like to inform our fellow commissioners and citizens watching in regards to redistricting. A lot in the news has been about the federal, state, and with the county, and I believe all of their due dates are December 15, and so it is not over, and the government closest to the people is city government, and their redistricting is happening really quickly now, and the citizens and organizations, anyone can submit maps of which the city council did 3 years ago, accept a map from the public. And kudos to our chair Chavez. His map is already online. You beat me. I was on it when it first came out. I'll work on mine and I'll submit mine later. So thank you very much. The first time I ever did a public comment was in regards to redistricting to the city council. This is a really important issue to me because it sets the chessboard for how elections are made. Unfortunately, sometimes the chessboard is skewed in ways that do not benefit the citizens. You have a say, please do, and make it benefit the city and the residents of Oxnard, please. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Vice Chair, and I'm sure you found it difficult utilizing that program. Commissioner Connolly.
I think I said this a couple meetings ago when we weren't 6-0 or 7-0 that I always love a good conversation and really having things be in conversation. So I just wanted to thank all of you for expressing your thoughts, and I think this is really good for the public. And even though it's probably frustrating for the applicants and maybe city staff too, I think that's why we're here. And this it fills my heart that we're doing what we're supposed to do. And I like when it's a little more balanced than a 7-0. So thank you all.
And we remain respectful of each other. That's very key. Commissioner Dr. Lopez.
Absolutely echo Commissioner Connolly's comments. Couple of upcoming city events that I wanted to highlight for anyone who's still watching, following us at home or online. People are always wondering about free drop-off days at the city's Del Norte facility. And so the city of Oxnard is going to be having a, what is it, a free Del Norte drop-off days, inviting residents to dispose of their trash and unwanted items for free. It's going to be taking place this Saturday, December 4th from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. So literally all day. They do have other dates already planned for spring and summer, but it's open to Oxnard residents only. Residents must provide a utility bill or an ID with their address. And more information is, I'm sure, available on the Public Works website or the Environmental Resources Division. So again, a free Del Norte drop-off day this Saturday from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Additionally, there is going to be a community information meeting for the South Oxnard Aquatic Center. That's going to be not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, December 11th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. At College Park. And so Councilwoman Gabriela Basua and Vianney Lopez, along with city staff at College Park, are going to be meeting to learn more about the potential features and programming of the Aquatic Center. No registration is required, and that more information for that could be obtained on the city's Cultural and Community Services website. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Dr. Lopez. Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to thank Commissioner Dr. Lopez for mentioning that free drop-off day. I think I'll look into that specifically. I also wanted to remind everyone here and those watching that the COVID-19 vaccines are now available to everyone age 5 and up now, which is a fairly recent update. And the booster shots are now available, I believe, to everyone age 18 and up, for those that meet the time requirements. So please make sure that you're following through. I am encouraged by how California and Ventura County and the area of Oxnard is trending with continuing reduction in case rates. And I'm hopeful this will continue even through the holiday, but we know there's uncertainties ahead. There's a new variant that we don't know whether it will be better or worse, but I hope everybody is considering doing their part and strongly considering taking that next step for their immunity and for the community well-being.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Commissioner Nash.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. And I would repeat the sentiment that's been expressed, that reasoned discourse is a wonderful thing. Civility is a wonderful thing, and combined with our love of Oxnard and always wanting to do what's right for the citizens, those are really the core tenets of our planning commission and any planning commission, really. So this is the season to give. So when you're out, buy an extra toy, buy some extra food, donate to the needy, always pay it forward, and we can make the world that we want to live in. So happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. And on that note, you reminded me of something else. Gold Coast Transit every year does this holiday bus that they decorate one of their buses inside and out. And it's back. It's called the Go Elves. And if you see that bus on your line, you get to ride for free on that particular bus. So be on the lookout, and then you can always take a selfie with that bus, Elves on the Go, use the hashtag. Gold Coast is also a site to do donations for Food Share. Food Share is doing their annual donation collection again. And Gold Coast is also doing the warm coats. So if you have an old, good condition coat, take it over to Gold Coast so that they're able to give it to many of our unsheltered individuals. Just today, past few days, it's been very, very cold by 5 o'clock in the evening. So consider doing that. And Commissioner Nash, you brought up a good point. It's up to us on the type of world that we want to live in. And I believe there wasn't a consensus, but I think a couple of the commissioners, we were talking about potentially doing a ugly Christmas sweater for our next meeting, Commission. There we go, Commissioner Nash. But in all seriousness, I think it's important that we do take those opportunities to try to give back to the community. Commissioner Connolly.
Chair, can you just share the address or addresses of the places to drop off the coats?
I will have to look for that. So before our meeting conclude, I will give that information so that the members of the public and the commissioners have that.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further commission business, we'll go ahead and move to Mr. Kowitz for community development updates.
Chair Chavez, members of the commission, thank you for that. So I do have a couple of updates. One is SCAG, our regional body of governments, does have a housing policy leadership academy that they're putting on at this point in time. And I wanted to make sure that all of you are aware of this, and I'll send a follow-up email to all of you about the details. But their summary paragraph about the training says the SCAG Housing Policy Leadership Academy offers a 10-session online training for emerging and established community leaders who want to better understand how to advance policy solutions to increase the supply and availability of affordable housing. The course brings together people from different backgrounds and disciplines in monthly sessions to examine issues and solutions from multiple perspectives and apply their learning to the current housing policy challenges. Sessions explore the relationship between policy, planning, and housing development, with a focus on how different policy solutions shape both the physical and social landscape and capacity to produce housing for all. This is an academy that you actually have to apply for, and the application date concludes on January 10th of 2022. And then it's in SCAG's hands after that. From what I could tell on their website, there's no cost for this, but it's limited attendance is what I'd say. And as they're looking, as they give hints about who this is really situated for, planning commissioners are specifically name dropped in their intended audience. So I wanted to share that with all of you. As I look forward, there's just two meetings I wanted to share with you as well. This next week on December 7th, the City Council will be meeting for one of the regular meetings, and there's two items that you have previously reviewed that'll be before them. The first is the bed and breakfast ordinance amendment will be before them. And the second item that'll be before them is an appeal of one of your decisions. The FGH commercial cannabis dispensary. This is the one that was across the street from Shopping at the Rose. That one has formally been appealed by adjacent property owners or those that spoke against the project. So December 7th is the date for that appeal. As I look further into the future, the Planning Commission, your next scheduled meeting is December 16th. There's going to be a handful of items that are on there. The first couple, which I think should be relatively straightforward, We're going to have to bring the AB 361 meeting resolution to you on that date because we're supposed to readopt that every 30 days. So just as a formality, expect to see that on the calendar. Speaking of calendars, we're going to be bringing your 2022 Planning Commission calendar meeting to that date. By and large, what that'll look like is every first and third Thursdays of the month is what we're planning on sharing with you, with the exception of that special meeting that we talked about already today. On the 13th, we'll have that as a meeting. And then in terms of projects, there's two projects that I'll just describe very generally at this point in time. The first one has to deal with the River Park specific plan. There's an amendment proposed to the River Park specific plan that's looking to replace the amount of commercial development that's already been pre-approved as part of the plan with housing. So the general thought is well before the pandemic, essentially with the advent of the internet, brick and mortar retail has struggled in some locations. So they're seeking, well, why not help the city with housing and perhaps other things out there. So without getting into statistics, that's something that's going to come before you on the 16th. There's also existing development agreements that are out there. So we'll be bringing those as well to the Planning Commission on that evening for modifications to both the specific plan and the development agreements. The other item to be heard that evening is there's a senior apartment project that's proposed off of Lockwood. Lockwood is the street that runs between same general area, north of Gonzales, east of Rose, south of the 101, between CarMax and the Outlet Mall. There's a housing development on one of the housing element identified opportunity sites, if you will. So that should be a full meeting for all of you, and we just wanted to give you that heads up. And then you would be off until January 13th, assuming the calendar is adopted as we think it would be. So with that, that concludes my comments to all of you tonight. We're very appreciative of the full, robust dialogue that you had. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kowitz. Vice Chair Reho.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. In regards to adopting the calendar that Mr. Kowitz just mentioned, is the City Council adopting that, or do we adopt that in 2 weeks? Thank you.
The City Council will adopt their own, and then the Planning Commission also adopts their own. Our calendar that we're going to prepare for you, it's actually going to have the City Council meeting dates on it as well, so you can see how your meetings align with them. And specifically, we've designed both calendars so they don't have the overlaps.
Thank you, Mr. Kowitz. Thank you, Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any additional questions for Mr. Kowitz? Mr. Kowitz, just one, the Rio Urbana project, I know with LAFCO, they had some technical issues at their last meeting that they had to suspend and then continue. Did they set up a date to continue?
They did, and thank you for bringing that up. December 15th is the date that's stuck in my head right now. I'm 99% sure that's the right one, but it's definitely happening in December.
Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, and going back to Commissioner Connolly's question, it's going to be at the Gold Coast Transit District Administration Office, which is located at 1901 Auto Center Drive. 1901 Auto Center Drive. You can do your donations. They're also doing the Spark of Love. So you can bring an unwrapped toy to be able to assist with that, the food cans, and then some old jackets that don't fit no more. You can donate that there, and then they'll distribute it accordingly. And again, Gold Coast has been a huge partner for our city for a number of years. So since there's no further business before the commission, and if there's no objection to adjournment, we will be adjourning to our next scheduled meeting on Thursday, December 16th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Thank you everyone for all your hard work, staff, commission, and thank you public for your participation. And as always, stay safe. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.